Hi everyone, my name is Lars Kode, and I have the enviable job of being International Brand Ambassador for the Danish Spirits Adventure behind A.H. Riise. Congratulations on having your very own A.H. Riise tasting kit. You can enjoy your A.H. Riise tasting when and where it suits you, no matter whether you are alone or in good company. You have opened your taster box and all the instructions, and now I'm ready to tell you everything about this small treasure chest and its content. You have bought a taster set with 8 samples. But what now? Aren't there 9 bottles? Indeed there are. Is that a mistake? By no means. We are just so happy to have you on board, so we have included a small surprise besides the 8 bottles we'll be tasting. You can enjoy whenever you feel like it. 9 bottles in total, all clearly labeled and filled with 2 cl of the finest spirits you can imagine. You can drink it straight out of the bottle, but that would be a pity. The centerpiece of our taster box is therefore a beautiful taster glass. However, that is not all. Inside the box, you will also find 9 coasters with taste notes and space for you to add your own assessment. And finally, it would be a really good idea to have some water within reach. You can drink some water to cleanse your palate between each drink. And you can also, with a steady hand or a pipette, add a drop or 2 to the glass. When the spirits from A.H. Riise has been confined in a bottle for a while, it can be a good idea to open your drink with a single drop of water. You can actually use a straw, as I do here. Remember that it is much easier to add water to your Riise than removing it again. You are not meant to dilute it, just open it. Welcome. Allow me to show you what you'll find in your taster box. I think you might agree that the most important things are the small tempting bottles. The bottles each contain 2 cl of golden drops. The bottles have a size that matches their content. Air is the enemy in a bottle of spirits, since it takes away taste and not the least alcohol from the precious drink. As little air as possible, that is rule number 1. In the middle of your taster box, you will find a glass that is perfect for tasting the individual bottles. The glass is tulip shaped, with an opening that is a bit narrower than the bottom of the glass. The shape of the glass allows the aroma to gather exactly where you place the tip of your nose, so that you get a concentrated sense of the smell. The glass is clear and transparent. Without impurities, this allows you to inspect the color when you hold the glass against the light. Without getting confused by the color of the glass. Ideally, you should have a glass for each of the bottles. But if you sit at home, you can supplement with more glasses. This might be taster glasses of varying types, or maybe a brandy glass. The only thing you have to remember is that the glasses must be small, clear and tulip shaped. Strong spirits tend to be a bit closed on the nose straight out of the bottle. A single drop of water can help open up the golden drops. This will give you the full taste sensation and aroma. We are talking about a single drop and no more than 2. You can use tap water or cheap bottled water. The water is meant to open up the spirits, not add any taste. Remember when you taste. First notice the color. Which must always be clear. Then the sensation on your nose, which you should spend some time on. Whatever you smell it right, no 2 people sense or smell or taste is the same. What I smell and taste might be entirely different from what you sense in your nose and on your palate. Finally, we move the drink around our mouth before swallowing. And yes, we swallow. This is not a wine tasting, so there will be no spitting. We need to experience the finish, and that is why we swallow. If possible, you should stay away from tobacco, coffee, beer, and soda during the tasting. These might be great to enjoy before and after the tasting, but they will ruin your impression of a good spirits. Now we should be ready to get started. The Friggatula. The Friggatula is probably the most famous Danish warship. Not least because it has been preserved and is visited by thousands of tourists every day when they stop at the frigate in Ebeltoft, where it's on permanent display. The frigate was a very modern warship when it sailed the seas. It not only had sails. If the wind failed, it would sail on using an impressive steam engine in its belly. The ship is also part of Riise's history, since it frequently cast anchor in the port of Charlotte Amalie on St. Thomas. Its main task was to uphold Danish sovereignty. A more trivial task was to provide for the many seamen on board. Among these provisions were rum from Riise. The Riise family and the officers on the frigate also became friends. The Friggatula is also the only preserved Danish warship that has actually been at war. It happened on the last day of the Second Schleswig War. The war had already been lost, but there was time for one last battle on the sea. Near the island of Als, the Friggatula was joined by 2 other Danish warships in the battle against combined Prussian and Austrian fleet. The enemy fleet sustained a lot of damage and ultimately had to flee. The Friggatula is an important part of Danish history that is truly worth preserving. However, it is both expensive and demanding to maintain such an old ship. but you can help preserve it. Every time you buy a bottle of the Friggatula, we donate money to the frigate survivor. Enough about the ship. We will now be tasting this impressive Navy Spirit drink, whose sweet minerals drop complete the circle with the other Navy Spirits drinks from Riise. Its alcohol volume is 45%, a sensible kick for seafarers. The drink itself is rich on mineral notes, fruitiness and sweetness. Let's have a closer look. The color is walnut. The nose is dark and intense aroma of cigar boxes, caramel and chocolate, with a greener layer at the top of grass and mint. The taste starts off mild, but intensifies with pineapple, honeydew melon, banana, and a rich, evocative taste of milk chocolate. The finish offers a shot of orange crunch, followed by a lightly spiked conclusion. Cheers! While you transport yourself to the port of Charlotte Amalie, I will give you a bit of history. When the Friggatula was launched on November 20th, 1860, it was the third ship in a planned series of 4 ships and was preceded by Niels Juel and Sjælland, which were launched in 1855 and 1858. Respectively, Jylland was the first to be built as a full power frigate. It was built of wood and had masts, but also had an engine and a propeller that allowed it to sail both before the wind and by coal power. However, the quickly evolving technology almost overtook the frigate on the inside before it was launched, and armor-plated warships had already started replacing wooden ships. So the Friggatula symbolizes a bygone era. However, during a race off the coast of Møn in July, the Friggatula proved to be the fastest Navy vessel with a top speed of 14 knots. Riise's signature Master Blender collection. Our signature is the highest level of commitment we can make to another person. All the more reason to carefully consider what we commit to with our signature. This series of Master Blender collection carries the signature of pharmacist Riise. Obviously, Albert Heinrich Riise is not able to leave his signature on the bottle. That part is left with the company behind today's Riise. History alone serves as enough inspiration to constantly aim for the highest stars. With the signature in mind, the content must meet the highest standard when it comes to flavor, glow, aroma, and inner warmth. Moreover, the bottle is shaped like a pyramid, the most powerful of geometric shapes. This all calls for a high expectations. A good drink should be a magnificent and exclusive drink. The desire to create the ultimate drink means that very high standards are set for the casks used for each batch and for the aging of the rums. That is handled by our master blenders who undertake the alchemical task of composing this masterpiece. The better the casks, the fewer of them. Therefore, Riise's signature is a genuine small batch. A few thousand bottles at a time, as exact a clone to the previous batch as humanly possible. Each batch consists of other casks than the previous batch. The true art is to compose the various blends as uniformly as possible. There will always be tiny differences. That is just craft. Because of the tiny differences, we have also decided to number each batch and each bottle. The content of the bottle is alcohol, and it will therefore keep if the owner is able to resist the temptation of drinking it. If you have the mental strength not to empty the bottle, it will be possible to compare the different batches over time and see if you can taste the difference. So what does the signature hide? The color in the glass are red gold. A most fascinating notes, ripe tropical fruits, coconuts and toffee, accompanied by cool minty notes. Highly complex and incredibly smooth. Glazed citrus and apricots entangled in toasted coconut with a touch of eucalyptus. A true symphony of ripe tropical fruits and toffee. Subtle minty note adds perfect harmony to this long and everlasting finish. Cheers up there. Enjoy your drink while I tell you a story. The metropolis of Charlotte Amalie. When Riise lived, Denmark was a large kingdom. Denmark still had the duchies in the south, and as a colonial power, Denmark was as big as ever. Then, as today, the capital was Copenhagen. The fortification had been abolished, and the city we know today was starting to take shape. At the same time, Charlotte Amalie at St. Thomas had turned into the biggest trade center, a free city, secondly only to Copenhagen. Santos Dumont XO. We will now be getting to know Santos Dumont better. Albert Santos Dumont was a mega celebrity almost before that was even a thing. Santos Dumont lived in Paris, the city of cities. Around the turn of the 20th century, he was known by his contemporaries as an aircraft pioneer, and you would find him behind the stick, whether it was a modern aircraft or a hydrogen-filled airship. He won numerous prizes for his courage to travel the sky. Santos Dumont not only had his pursuits in the sky, he also spent a lot of time, and not least money, helping the many poor and hungry people who lived in Paris at that time. His money came from his family's coffee and sugarcane plantations back in Brazil. So he was a fine fellow, this Santos Dumont, who was a household name in Paris back then. Much of the sugarcanes grown by his family was turned into juice, and much of that was used to make Brazilian rum, cachaça. However, this impressive bottle with Santos Dumont XO is not a traditional cachaça, since cachaça is made from sugarcane juice and not molasses. So let's stick with Santos Dumont XO. Part of the golden drops in your glass is distilled sugarcane juice from Brazilian sugarcanes. This South American distillate is mixed with molasses rum from the West Indies and Central America, until we have the perfect blend. The casks are aged in Europe, the West Indies, and Central America. This spirit drink should not only be praised for its sweetness and mineral notes, it is also one of a kind. When I taste it, I'm transported to a sunny orchard where the air is dense with ripened fruit. Well, we have to do this. It is amber colored with beautiful curves. The nose has hints of banana, coconut, ripe fruits, and apricot seeds. As mentioned, the taste is unique, with soft tannins and high esters. The finish is honey and especially fermented fruit. Cheers! While you get a better acquainted with Santos Dumont, I will entertain you with some story. Santos Dumont did not stick to just one type of flying. He flew hot air balloons, airships, and aircraft. Most metropoles around the world would say no to having various kinds of flying machines hovering about them. However, around the last century, they did not give much cause for concern. So Santos Dumont became the first to fly around the Eiffel Tower. He was involved in a crash in 1909. However, he escaped without a single scratch. But it must have been a scare, because after that, he rarely flew again. Riise Family Reserve. This bottle is another example of one of Riise's signature bottles. It's not an XO, nor is it a Navy or Nonplus Ultra. So what is it then? Well, it's quite unique. Riise Family Reserve these years. Riise, the company that now makes all the bottles that carry the name of the old pharmacist, is trying to build strong ties to Riise's descendants. The family does not have a say when it comes to the individual blends. However, that does not change the fact that Riise Family Reserve, carrying the family name, was served at the Riise family reunion in 2015. The family reunion takes place every 5 years, and as I speak, they are planning another one in 2022. Those who know their 5 times table will know that will have been 7 years since the last reunion. That is all down to the uninvited guest that is the corona pandemic. Similar to all other bottles with Riise on the label, this is a blend. A drink composed of some of the finest and oldest rums we can get our hands on. Both the bottle and its content are unique. Sweet like the other A.H. Riise spirit drinks, but also very distinctive. You will never doubt that it is an A.H. Riise family reserve that you have in your glass. So what are we drinking? The color can best be described as red gold. And the nose really raises your expectations. First fruit candy, followed by a more powerful note with light leather and cardamom. The taste is that of dark spices and a hint of smoke, as well as pickled orange peel and umami. The finish is lemon vanilla cream with a sprinkle of cinnamon. Cheers, and enjoy your drink while I give you a little bit of history. I call the story Self-Made is Well-Made. When A.H. Riise lived, it was common practice for pharmacists to make medicine, ointment, mixtures, and naturally rum. At that time, the pharmacy would have been a true Aladdin's cave of all things exotic. Today, however, pharmacies do not make their own products. In 1917, A.H. Riise moved the pharmacy from the West Indies to Vejle in Denmark, since the islands were sold to the USA. However, at St. Thomas Pharmacy in Vejle, it has not been that many years since they stopped making things. Until recently, they produced small bags of their own cough drops. If you wanted the pharmacy's own cough drops, you could only get them at St. Thomas Pharmacy. Today, we have only the images and cannot taste or smell them, but they look really delicious.
Håkon Royal Reserve. Venskab knyttes ofte over et godt glas. A.H. Riise Håkon Royal Reserve hylder venskabet og den gensidige respekt. Da Albert Heinrich og hustru Henriette slog sig ned i Charlotte Amalie, stiftede de også familie. Ud af de 13 børn, de i alt blev velsignet med, blev sønnerne Valdemar og Karl dem, der skulle gå i deres fars fodspor. Valdemar blev sendt til Danmark for at uddanne sig, og da han år senere vendte hjem til St. Thomas, var han på alle måder rustet til i første omgang at støtte sin far og på sigt føre firmaet videre. Valdemar Riise skulle vise sig som en dygtig forretningsmand. Ikke mindst blev han kendt som en dygtig alliancemager. I dag vil man kalde ham en netværker. Valdemar kendte værdien af at være vellidt og respekteret af såvel høj som lav. Når man gerne ville levere flåderum til den kongelige danske flåde, gav det god mening med gode kontakter med besætningerne på de danske skibe, som vogtede over den danske suverænitet i Vestindien. Særligt et venskab skal vi hylde her. Den danske prins Karl, som var en del af besætningen på fregatten Jylland, og tillige den danske kongens lillebror, og Valdemar Riise knyttede nære bånd. Ingen kunne på dette tidspunkt ane, at prins Karl stod foran et karrieremæssigt kvantespring. Norge var blevet en selvstændig nation, efter at Sverige havde opgivet deres herredømme over folket højt mod nord. Norge ønskede, i lighed med sine nordiske brødre, monarki. En hage var der dog. Hvem skulle være konge? Norge henvendte sig til den danske monark for at høre, om han eventuelt havde en prins i overskud. Valget blev sømanden prins Karl, som herefter blev kong Håkon den 7. af Norge. Den fornemme titel ændrede dog ikke på venskabet de to imellem, og de blev venner livet ud. Det er dette venskab, Håkon Royal Reserve skal fejre. Den dram, de to mænd har nydt sammen, har været til den søde side. Det er den moderne fortolkning også. Dette vidunderlige blend repræsenteres flot i den høje, slanke A.H. Riise-flaske, og ikke mindst i den smagfulde kongeblå gavekarton. Vi smager et velafbalanceret blend, hvor sødmen er i højsædet. I glasset fremstår de ædle dråber i et let gyldent skær. Duften bærer løfter om vanilje, kokosnød og flødekaramel. Smagen indfrier duftens løfter med kokos i en meget central rolle. Eftersmagen, kokosnød og flødekaramel, samt en klar note af orangeskal. Skål på varige venskaber. Mens I nyder, kan I lægge øre til en lille historie, hvor vi snakker om, hvor Albert Heinrich Riise er født. A.H. Riise skabte et stort navn for sig selv, da han som nyuddannet apoteker drog mod fjerne kyster. I bagagen havde han en tilladelse fra den danske konge. Skønt stadig kun teenager, havde A.H. Riise papir på og kunne kalde sig apoteker i det fjerne Charlotte Amalie på St. Thomas. Vi har grund til at tro, at Riise higede efter anerkendelse og berømmelse. Om han fik den i tilfredsstillende omfang, kan ingen vide. I 1954 besluttede man i Ærøskøbing, at der skulle opsættes en mindesplade for byens berømte sø. Spørgsmålet var bare, hvor skulle den sidde? Pladen opsattes på det statlige bindingsværkshus på adressen Gyden 5. Så langt, så godt. Nu er det bare sådan, at mennesker er fødte tvivlere, også når det gælder A.H. Riises fødested. Man kiggede i Rigsarkivet for Ærø og fandt den foruroligende oplysning, at Riises mor, Madame Riise, ganske rigtigt havde boet på adressen, dog først fra 1843. På det tidspunkt havde Albert Heinrich allerede i 5 år hygget sig blandt bunsenbrændere, destillationskedler og pillepresser på apoteket i St. Thomas. Om igen. Pladen blev hængende, mens lærte folk strides om, hvor den så skulle hænge. Jens Christian Riise, den stolte fader til A.H. Riise, havde i 1808, altså 2 år før det senere så berømte drengebarn kom til verden, adressen var Brogade 28. Det er så her, vi tror, A.H. Riise blev født. Messingpladen sidder der endnu, og vi håber, den bliver siddende. Nonplus Ultra, very rare. Nonplus Ultra is Latin and means nothing after this. Legend has it that in antiquity, the pillars of Hercules stood at the entrance to the Strait of Gibraltar, carrying the words Nonplus Ultra. The intention was to warn seafarers that they were now leaving the known and enlightened world, heading towards the dangerous and unknown, and not least uncivilized world. In other words, you better turn around now, my friend, if you hold your life dear. Riise uses Nonplus Ultra in the sense, nothing after this, meaning nothing better comes after this. We have really made an effort. We have used the best and oldest casks for this blend. Nonplus Ultra Very Rare looks wonderful in its faceted signature bottle. The bottle only contains Riise spirits. To ensure the perfect level of exclusivity, the bottle is adorned by a photo of Albert Heinrich Riise. Not a lot of pictures can be found of him, since Riise's archives unfortunately ended up in flames at the beginning of the 20th century. Nonplus Ultra is a highly curated masterpiece. Before the final blend, the rum has been aged in premium casks. Some have already been blended, others are still in the original casks. We use bourbon, sherry and port casks. Nonplus Ultra Very Rare is made in very small batches. Blending the ultimate drink requires the contribution of the best and the oldest casks. That is why a single batch will only have a few thousand bottles, and the number varies depending on the cask we have at our disposal. So what can we say about the precious drink you have in your glass right now? The color is a wonderful, intense mahogany. The nose, spices and lightly cooling mint, muscovado sugar, orange zest. A creamy palate with the notes from the nose, as well as caramel and vanilla. Creamy and vanilla caramel fudge come in the finish. Why don't we have a little longer look on this magnificent bottle? Riise XO Reserve Christmas Edition. For obvious reasons, I don't know which time of the year you and I will meet up for this tasting. It is all up to you when you want to listen to me. So although it might not be Christmas right now, we still have to taste Riise's amazing Christmas drink. Our original intention was to make a very limited edition and only at Christmas. However, it was impossible to predict how popular the Christmas edition would be. And although it is no longer a seasonal product, the bottles are still produced in limited numbers. The brilliant Christmas drink is definitely worth the hunt. The blend is based on the well-known Riise XO Reserva, but it doesn't stop here. To get us all into the Christmas spirit, this blend has further aged in casks previously containing Pedro Jimenez sherry. That is the dark, soft, almost pruny sherry that many people already enjoy at Christmas. When the nearly finished blend is transferred to the casks, whose wood is bursting with delicious PX sherry, the blend undergoes a change. The blend takes on the flavor of the cask, and that is not only the notes of juicy prunes and burnt figs. The flavor is combined with an aura of hot spices, many of those we use for Christmas. If you can find a bottle out there, I would like to make you a recommendation. Drink it anytime, anywhere, with anyone. But try to leave a small glass of Riise Christmas edition for your rice pudding dessert on Christmas Eve. You'll find that it's the perfect match. Let's have a closer look at the golden drops in the glass. The color is copper. The nose is an exotic dessert. Pineapple, mango and ripe honeydew melon with vanilla cream, accompanied by milk chocolate with orange crunch and coconut. Later, a lovely light spice note comes to the fore. The melon salad flambés from the nose, but there's also a delightfully light herbal note, which balances the sweet fruit taste. A mild, spicy note from the barrels emerges gradually. Cheers and Merry Christmas. While you get into the Christmas spirit, I will tell you a story. In 1868, when epidemics of cholera, yellow fever and smallpox were raging, the family Riise decided to go to Denmark for a year or so. However, once the year had passed, they decided to stay. The pharmacy at St. Thomas were run by a former employee who married one of Riise's daughters. Later, one of his sons became a pharmacist in Ærøskøbing. In 1872, Albert Riise bought a house at Friggatula, which he named St. Thomas. When the house was sold in 1882 after Riise's death, it was turned into an amusement place called St. Thomas. At that time, Friggatula had many such amusement places. One of them was Alhambra, run by Georg Carstensen after he had been kicked out of Tivoli. The house no longer exists, but the street on which it was located is now called St. Thomas Alley, and it is one of the most fashionable addresses in Friggatula. Riise XO podcast finish. When people in ancient times wanted to age their rum or other spirits, they had to find a suitable container. The natural choice were oak casks. Originally, you would not age spirits. All you needed was a tight container to be able to transport it to wherever it would be poured and drunk, whether it be an inn or in the basement of a wine dealer. This also meant that the content had to be drunk as quickly as possible. You could, of course, get your local cooper to make a barrel for you. But why not just use old barrels? As long as they have not been used for salted herring or tar, you might as well use the old barrels that used to contain wine or spirits. So that is what people did. Now all we have to do to imagine the newly produced rum being poured into a cask that used to contain, for example, port. And let's imagine that this cask has been forgotten for some time. And when it is finally opened, you discover that its contents has transformed. It has become softer, rounder, and milder. You can then easily see before you a future where distillate have been aged on old casks for either a short or a long time. A wise man once said, "All wine would be poured if it could." Indeed, this dessert wine, or fortified wine, as it's also called, is something special. The wine is fortified with alcohol, sweetness, vinosity, and flavor. In our opinion, all port casks are the perfect choice for aging Ajo Riise. Ajo Riise blends are picked from premium casks from the West Indies and Central America. This is the finest of spirits. Some of the casks used to contain port. And in the final blend, you'll clearly notice the port in both the nose and the taste. But what is it that we bring from the world of port? The color is light gold. The nose is vanilla and yellow fruits such as pineapple and banana, which you notice first, below which is a layer of drier red fruits with a subtle hint of port. The yellow and red fruits continue into the port-tinged taste. And together with tobacco and cedarwood, it remains fruity with the clear notes of the port. The finish is rich and long, with a harmonious, dry, chocolatey conclusion. Cheers! Transport yourself to the Douro Valley, while I tell you a small story. Enjoy your glass while I'll give you a quick introduction into the world of port wines. Ports aren't just ports. If you look at the renowned ruby ports, they are aged on huge casks that can contain up to 60,000 litre wine. Of course, these are not the casks we use when we initiate Ajo Riise. Instead, we use the casks of Tawny ports. These ports are matured on the more traditional port pipes that resemble the cask we already know. So next time you find yourself enjoying a glass of Tawny port, remember that the cask the wine was matured on perhaps contained an Ajo Riise port finish later. Ajo Riise, 1838, bitter. The wealth of warm spices in a bitter are intended to calm you and warm your body. And that is exactly what you get with this bitter. This one has a sweetness to it. It is gentle
and puts you at ease. At the same time, you encounter an overwhelming punch of vitality and fragrance when you remove the cork. The warm spices tickle your nose, while the perfectly attuned alcohol volume gives you the warmth you are looking for without burning your throat. The many herbs, flowers, citrus fruits, spices, roots and bark combine in a wonderful symphony that makes this bitter utterly unique.